Torah Keepers, how are you guys doing? Now, this is something that I jumped upon the other day, and there is a incredible division when it comes to keeping Sabbaths, keeping holy feasts, keeping holy days, that kind of things. And it all has to do with, I guess, what people call the lunar solar keepers. And I have gone over and over and over, especially in the Torah, that when our Creator does stuff, He always does it in cycles of 7. Always. It doesn't matter about anything. He never does anything outside of it, right? If you're a leper, you're kicked out of the camp for 7 days. If you are trying to cling yourself, it's outside of the camp for 7 days. When we were building the temple, all of the different grommet hooks, there's 50s and there's 7s, and it is all the same. And our Creator is ingenious in His assumptions, in His building, in His creation, that He doesn't have to begin a new year in the middle of a month or in the middle of a week. He begins a new year on cycles of 7, and the same for Jubilees. There's 50s and things of that nature. Now, everyone's really super confused, and everybody has their own cycles, everybody has their own Sabbaths, and I know a tremendous amount of people who are what they call lunar keepers, and they will start their Sabbath. They say their Sabbath is on a first day. Now, one thing I would like to point out, and what I mentioned today in one video, is it doesn't matter what day of the week you call anything, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those are all pagan names. If you're worshiping on a Saturday, it is not a Saturday. It is a 7th day, right? If you're falling upon a Sabbath day and it falls onto a Saturday, it is not that you're on a Saturday. It is that you're in a 7th day. Now, when you're worshiping on a first day, or you have your what you call new beginnings or something of the sort, where you start you restart the year in the middle of a week, and you do not have a cycle of 7. And what I mean by this is some of the lunar keepers will start basically they'll have a Shabbat, and then 2 or 3 days later, because their new year, they believe the new year starts over, they will have another Shabbat. And so basically you only have 2 or 3 days, and that takes you out of the cycle of 7s. Now, it is not hard to figure this out, but we have to come to a date of creation. And one thing I'd like to point out right here is this right here. People were asking me the other day, they were like, well, why do you think there's 24 hours in a day? I don't think there's 24 hours in a day. I don't care if we call it hippo time or call it dog time or something of the sort. You call it an hour. I call it one of Yah's days, right? A day is from sunset to sunset. That is over and over and over in the Bible. It is our day ends at sunset, the previous day, and it also begins the new day at sunset. So we never even knew, like, if you were wanting to base things upon 24 hours of a day, or that you're worshiping on a Saturday or something of the sort, understand, please, that this guy, Hipparchus, or whoever he is, he invented the entire 24-hour equinoctial hours between 147 and 127 BC. So before about 100 years, 200 years before the walking of our Messiah Yahusha, he invented the 24-hour time, or he based upon equinoxes and things of that nature. And that is not what it is. Like back in the day, I'm sure they had some way to figure out roughly what time it was, but it didn't go in hours, right? The sun comes up. I could tell you right here that roughly when the sun comes up here, it's right around 5:50 a.m. That's what I know it as, because we count things in hours, right? But our Creator, you would know your day started the day before, because sunset came. So basically the day started. When your sun rises the next day, there's your morning, right? But your day has already begun. You're already 12 hours through your day. The day runs through the night. Now the problem is when we get out of cycles of 7, we are not doing what our Creator has said. We're essentially saying that somehow we think our Creator has made a mistake and we need to start a new year in the middle of a week, or where you're missing out on cycles of 7. The only way the lunar calendar would ever work is if it was in cycles of 7. Like if you did not start your new year halfway in the middle of a week after you just had a Sabbath, or you only went 5 days and you had a Sabbath on the 6th, we're outside of cycles of 7. So if we look here at TorahCalendar.com, the beginning of creation we have as 3,979 BCE. So 3979 BCE is our first day of creation. And so they have creation day 1 here on the 17th, but they're putting this back and they're equating this with the Gregorian calendar. And they're only doing that so that we, as people in these end times, can try to figure out what exactly date and time it is, right? So creation day 1 was day 1. Creation day 2 was day 2, right? So you had what we think of as on a Sunday, well, on a first day, right? And that's, again, we're all programmed into Roman Catholicism where we are, where we know things like this. And they literally hijacked our Creator's calendar and added their stuff into it. Now, the cool thing about TorahCalendar.com is we have the creation date, right? And we know this creation date is right here, day 1. And then we have creation day 2 all the way till we have the very first Sabbath. Now, if we look at this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, what is absolutely awesome about this is they have gone through this entire calendar and they have this dialed into 7s and dialed into 50s. So if we're looking at basically 7,000 years is what we have. We're around 6,000 years right now, somewhere around that. And we have what is, let's take a look right here, right? And so if you take this calendar and you take this, and we have our first 1,000 years, then there are 2,000 years, 3,000 years, 4,000 years, 5,000 years, roughly 6,000 where we are now. They've counted this up, and our Sabbath of today is on using this calendar. Now, they hate this website. They've really completely jacked this thing up. But if we are looking right here, let's see, how do we do this right here? And they just tossed me under the bus. I don't know what's going on. So this is not where we are at. So let's do 2022. And I don't care. Let's see if it'll pop up. There it is right there. All right, so here's 2022. Let me make sure that we are... so we are... This is 2022, where we are right here. And let's get current here. What is the date today, anyone? It is... What is it? 16th of July 16th. On the pagan calendar. But they have corresponded this, and we are on a Shabbat right here. And so, July 16th, right here. This is where we are at, right? And so the cool thing about this is using this calendar, if this is the date of creation that we would just discussed, they've counted by 7s all the way till we are today, and we are in line with our Creator's calendar. So I would like to toss this out to everybody, and I guess I would like to know if anybody has another date that they know of that creation was created, or another calendar that begins creation that starts the count of 7s. If we go outside of the count of 7 and we start a new beginnings, or we're doing something outside of the way our Creator has said, I do not believe we are doing this correctly. So if anyone else has another calendar, that I would like to see. So please present this in the comments below so we can all discuss this together. And if not, I believe that we are on the correct calendar using TorahCalendar.com. And you have to do this in cycles of 7. And if we do not do this in cycles of 7, then we are off. So today is a 7th day. And you may say, well, Jason, the Jews changed the 7th day to a Saturday. There was no Saturday. I don't care what you call the day, because the day is a seventh day. It doesn't matter if you call it a Monday or Tuesday or whatever. It matters that we have things in a cycle of 7. So if we are outside of the cycle of 7, then we are doing it wrong. So I just want to see if anybody else out there can either confirm or deny that that is the day of creation. And if it is not the day of creation, what day do you guys have that starts us where we cycle 7s, and we have our Shabbats, and we have our Jubilees? So I'd like to put this out there, since there is so much confusion on these calendars. I think it is very important that we come up with the day of creation, and if we do have the day of creation, then we're set, right? We're absolutely on the right schedule, and then from here, we simply need to figure out what our feasts are, when our stuff is, and then we celebrate them, and then we are on the right calendar. So hopefully this takes some of the complexity out of this entire lunar madness when we are trying to keep Shabbats via lunar and various things. It never says that in the Bible. And you can invent stuff and you can throw stuff out. And I've heard every side of the argument. There's probably 100 different types of lunar keepers, and they all keep stuff a little bit different, and they all have to invent things. One of them I heard was the sun, where the sun stood for a time when Joshua was fighting, right? And they pull all of this stuff in there, and it doesn't make any sense if we're outside of the cycles of 7. So I'd like to bring that to you, present that to you, and I would like to say Shabbat Shalom. I am heading out for the day. I hope you guys are wonderful, and I hope you guys had a wonderful Shabbat. I'm out.